Well, hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for accepting the invitation to come and share uh, bits of knowledge, few golden nuggets, hopefully, about the importance of generational wealth. As I watched last week relative to the Tulsa incidents and the bombing and the massacre in Black Wall Street, it pricked my heart to say that the one thing that we are continuously told that we don't have wealth, and there's a reason why wealth is limited in the Black community. Tulsa, Oklahoma is a prime example. You had Black people who went far and above what their expectations were. And as a result of jealousy and envy, uh, white folk at the time decided that they were going to do away with Black wealth. And so as a result, we are here today in as far as the Black community in general. We have a lot of people who have been very successful, such as yourselves, but in general, the Black population has not uh, arrived to the point of our capabilities. So without any further ado, I would like to, first of all, thank you, Joe, for accepting the invitation to pull this group together. As I indicated, generational wealth is something that has come to light even more so since this pandemic has taken place. So it's in your hand, Joe. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, WT, and it's always good to for me to touch base with Jefferson City. It's a big part of my life. I actually met WT at the Lincoln University and his wife, and also my wife is born and raised in Jefferson City, and and the community is special, and it's the state capital. It's still and the Black population there is always striving forward, so I'm glad that we can drop some knowledge in that direction. And so I appreciate you asking, and I also appreciate you, Marie Deary, for making time on short notice. You, Bobby McDonald, for making time on short notice, and you, James Smith, for making time on short notice. And so therefore, what I want to do, I think the topic of Black wealth and our future is just an important one. And I thought that the group that I've assembled here is really can just add knowledge to it. I think that in terms of technically wealth building, it so happens that Marie Deary is it's her expertise. I mean, she's in the wealth building business as an entrepreneur and has some great knowledge on it. Bobby McDonald is involved in the community in Orange County in every way possible. And James, former Postmaster General of Los Angeles, has all kind of knowledge about he's built wealth, and he has a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And so I'm over to you, Marie.
Yes, Joe. So in the process of wealth building, most American home ownership is the largest component of their wealth. So, in other words, most Americans start the process out by purchasing their first home. And so, this is why those three components for building wealth is so important. Managing your taxes, managing your credit, and managing your health. Once you have those under control, you can then move into the second phase. And the second phase is, how do we start? And where do we start? Purchasing our first home. And what do we need to be able to purchase our first home? And once we purchase our first home, how do we use the knowledge, the equity, and we can talk about the equity later on. How do we use those now to start the journey, to purchase our second property, so we can really start that journey, and most importantly, to educate, to bring along our children, regardless how old they are or how young they are, involve them in that process. Over.
I'd like to just echo what James Smith said earlier, and he hit the key word. If you look at all of us on this panel and all of us that are speaking today, the key word is relationships.
Yes.
We all are involved. If you look at us, we're all involved with relationship building with the jobs that we do. And because we're involved with relationship building, we have an opportunity to learn more from people of many colors, of many races, of many opportunities to pass on to us. Now, we don't have to take everything they say, but we can take most of it and move our agenda. And that's what has really driven me here with the chamber. Now, again, it goes back to access to information. I mean, I'm a salesman by trade. I used to work for a small company called Uniroyal ProCads, and I used to work for an even smaller company called Adidas. So I was always in the community. I was always out there. And as we've kind of mentioned beforehand, you know, I got a chance to work with Coach Eddie Robinson from Grambling and do his 50th anniversary. But it was relationships, because he went to school with my uncles. It was that relationship that allowed me to help do some things and do his 50th anniversary at the Bayou Classic down in New Orleans. It's just getting all those kinds of things together because it grows. And your wealth, your opportunities, your livelihood, and your information grows because you have really valid relationships. And that's my story. Over.
I agree. My life is all about relationships. I came out, like I said, I came out here 18 years old, didn't know anyone in Los Angeles. Today, most people in Los Angeles, significant people rather, they know me or either I know them. And by the way, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Your job is to make sure that people know you. And when I look at my life, in fact, meeting Joe, he's a modest guy, but Joe is a big deal. I mean, you know, if you're in Los Angeles, and knowing Joe Johnson is important. But what I found out is that people, if you go to anyone that is successful, if you want to be a mechanic, go down to the street and go and speak to the mechanic, and maybe the first one say, no, I don't want to be bothered with you. Now, second might be, but eventually you're going to meet a mechanic that's going to say, you know what? Come on over here, I'll help you. There's nothing more important to people than helping others. So I've always worked on relationships, and what I want, and I always try to make sure that I do something for people before they ask. If you do something helps assist someone before they ask, that's a big deal. And if you keep doing that over a period of time, you're going to attract people that want to come back and give back to you. So the objective is to make sure that people want to help you, and always make sure that you give and help them before they ask. You don't want to always be the one that initiate the asking. You want to give, and when you need something, they'll always be there. I have a home here, and in fact, as the postmaster, when the postmaster position in Los Angeles came up, which is the second largest post office in the country, I didn't even apply for the job. They came to me. And it was only because of previous relationships. And later on, I never found out why I was asked to be the postmaster, but later on, and by the way, if you want to find out what's going on or what happened or reasons why something happened, just keep focusing and eventually it'll come up. But anyway, I found out later on that another person was chosen for the postmaster. They wanted to choose another person, but there were other people that wanted me to be there. And these were people that were around you, but they never tell you that they did these things, but they did it because of the relationship. So wealth and achievement and growth and everything we do is all about relationship. If people like you, respect you, they'll give you more than you can ask for. Over.
Let me just say here, if interrupt for a moment, Brother Bobby has to leave, and he told us that earlier. And so I want to give you one chance to say your goodbyes, Bobby, as we thank you.
I'm honored to have been on this program. I'm honored to be with this august group. I'm also honored that this is going to be at Jefferson City in Missouri, because that was where the Buffalo Soldiers started the educational process, right there at the 65th, 67 Colored Infantry. So my heart's always been in Jefferson City, Missouri. Thank you. Great panel, great conversation. I'll check it out a little later. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Dorsey.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, and then you can jump right in.
Yeah, absolutely. Charles Dorsey, I'm the founder and CEO of the Dorsey Group. I'm also an ordained elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Got my doctorate degree from Pepperdine University in organizational leadership. I'm super passionate about topics that empower marginalized communities to do better, as well as helping leaders succeed in the work that they do. As it relates to the conversation about wealth, I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by so many sages, and I recognize that their lived experience might be a little unique to mine. But when we talk about wealth, it starts at language for me. When I was coming up, wealth wasn't even the word to use. We had goals to be rich. I discovered later in life that there's a difference between being wealthy and being rich. But my aspiration was to be rich, and I was looking for the tangible accessories that make you look rich. And so that when you get some money, the first thing that you do is aspire to get something that makes you look like you have a lot of money. Then, of course, I grow, and I'm fortunate enough to be connected to people like yourself, Brother Johnson, who give me new language, help me to understand that wealth and rich are two different things. And so I am able to absorb a different mindset, which actually is my response to the question, right? Wealth, I think, begins in the mind. Like you can obtain lots of symbols of wealth, and your mindset will push you back to poverty. You can find yourself in position to really take advantage of investment opportunities, but not have a mindset of wealth that allows you to move into partnerships that accelerate those wealth building opportunities. And so I think that that's something that even on this Juneteenth, we have to continue to impress upon people, that wealth is a mindset. You can carry wealth into relationships. You can carry wealth into conversation. You can carry wealth into your plans, like even the career path that you choose. This thought behind me now being an entrepreneur and owning my own business and really trying to create wealth for generations to come. It's a consequence of a mindset where it is that I used to just aspire to have a job and get a 9-to-5, and some people are built that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then there are those who strive to create jobs, right? The difference between an asset and a liability, all these different things that come along with wealth mindset, I think that are still an opportunity for our community today. And so even talking with you and watching how you spend your time and how you don't spend your time, and truly people who are after wealth sometimes find themselves unavailable because their wealth journey pulls them into other activity that obligates them to spend their time in other spaces of growth and learning and productivity. So, it's an exciting conversation. I hope that anyone who is in my age range and younger would begin to reassess how they speak about their future aspirations, where they're connected to the overall advancement of our people. And hopefully we can come back to the table and really give some advice about how to achieve wealth.
You over.
Over. Sorry.
Right. Marie, I want to just turn to you. Over.
Yes. So, so I agree. We all have to change our mindset, because we have to think of, it's simple. We have to change our mindset in order for us to move and keep on moving forward. So I agree that we have to change our mindset. But once we have done that, what next? So we are now thinking that wealth is something that we can accomplish. I remember years ago, one of my dear mentors, I said to my mentor, I wanted to purchase a home. And at the time, we both was working for the same company. And Bernard, that's Bernard Kenzie, Bernard said, from this day on, if you want to purchase a home and you want to maintain that home, you have to learn to live off one income. One income. And I took the advice. And up to today, my husband and I live on one income. So we can always invest the other income, which we do. So I would say to everyone out there, especially for the ones who have two incomes, you have to be able to live on one income. And living on one income, it also means that, and with your journey to building wealth, that also means that you have to learn to live below your means. Because if you truly want to build wealth, you have to live below your means. Over.
Well, Mr. Dorsey kind of brought some different thoughts here. I want to speak of two different types of wealth. One is the material things, and I spoke earlier. I think real estate is really the fundamental way young people or anyone is going to begin wealth, because again, it's something that is you can depend on. It's going to always increase and improve. So, as a young person or creating wealth, one is that most people start out having an apartment, being in an apartment. And so your objective is to get out of that apartment. That's the step one, being in an apartment. So then what the strategy I had was, I wanted to find a home. And it does not have to be some fabulous home, but it's just something to get out of that apartment situation. And so I think in life that, in my life, most important things, I look at it in three steps. One is to get out of the current step, as far as the home is, you get out of apartment to a home. It could be anywhere. It could be in some of the less affluent area. And then later on, you want to go to a better home. And then you have that ultimate home. When you buy a car, you get a car that will get you off the bus. Then you get it could be a used car. Then you get a new car. Then you get your ultimate car. So in my life, I've always wanted to, all my goals were achieved in three steps. And so my kids, the same way, I deal and share with them the same way. So what I'm saying is that you can't always go from step 1 to 3. And then in some cases you can. But again, the normal process is for me is 3 steps. But from what Dorsey was saying, wealth also, once you get to a certain point, and I have been fortunate and blessed and to be at that point in my life now. Wealth to me now is helping other people. I've achieved, we've been blessed, I've achieved much more than I have done because I use those 3 steps. I wanted to get out of the apartment, get a home, and then get a second home. But then I always had that third one, and that should be your ultimate home. I've achieved that. But now what gives me satisfaction and gratification and a sense of value, a sense of accomplishment is helping other people. And that's why I started this foundation that I have. So the generational wealth, yes, look out for yourself. Yes, create wealth. Yes, create all of the material things. Yes, have fun, enjoy, go, all of that. But as something tells me that there's something bigger than we are that helps you to get those things. And you gotta be aware that if that, whatever you might want to think it is, if you don't treat that well, and that's by giving back, then you stand a chance of having some challenges. So yes, build wealth, yes, get the material thing, but always find a way to help others. And that's where I am today. I'm about helping others. The homeless person that I used to walk by, and I don't do that anymore. They don't have to ask anymore. And the more you give, it might take you 50 years to figure that out. The more you give some kind of way, the more you receive out.
Yeah, that's super inspiring. If I could just take a piece of the home ownership conversation, I'm fortunate, and Brother Johnson may or may not know this. We just leveraged one home to pull equity out of it to get into our second home. So now we are multi-property owners and hoping to do that for as long as I can. Watching the market, leveraging the property as a personal bank in a sense. And I don't mean to use that type of advanced language, but certainly making sure that you leverage your equity to kind of go out and get more property. And of course, have some people stay in it. Brilliant conversation. I'm so fortunate to be in this group because you guys have modeled and continue to model some of the things that were really, really given to me. I remember this crazy aspiration. I was under this businessman who happens to be a pastor of a church, or should I say pastor of a church who happens to be very affluent in business. And he was teaching us financial literacy. He says to us, you need to have 7 streams of income. I couldn't even begin to think what a stream of income, an extra stream of income was, because in my mind, you only get one job. And he began to push us to think about different streams. I know Ms. Deary hit on it, and so did Mr. Smith, as it relates to that home being a source of revenue, but also having other streams, right? Other things that you got your hands in, other things that are producing revenue for you. And I'm happy to say that me and my wife are on the other side of that, like in the sense of where all of those streams of incomes are not active. Some of them are passive, which is great, right? And that being another source of building wealth. Ms. Deary says, live off of one income. The way that it was taught to me was, it's going to be tight for a minute. That's what they used to say. Like, it's going to be tight for a minute, but if you manage your money properly and you delay your gratification, right, that you can then arrive at a place where some of the joy that you're trying to build into your life doesn't cost you the way that it does cost people who kind of instantly jump to their spaces. So I appreciate like all of that. I guess my advice would be to listen to the elders, right? Because some of the elders really do know what they're talking about. Our challenge is sometimes we're so nuanced in our creativity, right? We want to innovate so quickly that we have difficulty going through those 3 steps, Brother Smith, or taking the necessary precaution to move down and through some of those advices. So I would say, certainly be patient. I absolutely agree that if you're paying what you would pay on a mortgage for an apartment, it's a no-brainer. It's like, just go, and because as that increases in value, particularly if you buy in a place where cities are beginning to invest and franchises are coming, like, that's the other piece, right? So wealth, actually, you're surrounded by wealth. That's why you want to own in a place where wealth is, right? So, certain companies are targeting your city. That's where you want to buy, particularly when you know that they're coming. So there was a bid out where Amazon was looking to place their next headquarters. And I began to ask myself, do I own property there? Like, even in Los Angeles, the 2020, as soon as they landed the 2028 Olympics, I said, oh my God, I own property that's close to that. Like, anything remotely close to that will spike in value, just because, and I'm talking about for like decades. Y'all remember them Olympics that came to Los Angeles, and the property around there is still valued at millions of dollars, like today, and it's going to happen again. So I'd say take that home ownership route, and do that well. But I'd also say, like, for those of us who like to invest in cars, that's a diminishing asset. Like, get you something that's on four wheels and just let it get you from point A to point B, and take that W and run with it. But invest in your home, have a place to stay. And then, of course, like Brother Johnson, I'm sure you have people that you're going to pass assets on to, right? This is actually key. When our parents transfer investments to us, ask every single question you can and hold on to that asset, because that's supposed to produce generational opportunities, like for generations to come. So I'll stop there. Over.
I'm going to, would you believe that we're kind of getting close to the time that is allotted, but what I want to do is make sure that we go at least one more round, and maybe two. But I want to have you to just continue to impart the knowledge. I find I'm learning even as I listen. It's connecting things. You'll see in my screen, I said everything is already whole. We just have to look to see how it is, and that's something that guides me about our understanding of what's going on out in our society, and to begin to look in all the different directions as we're talking about growth and wealth and knowledge and so forth and so on. So I want to go back around and just whatever is on your heart. So we'll start with you, Deary, and I will say two more rounds. You have a closing round after this one. Over.
Oh, yes. I cannot agree more with Charles. And it's very important to listen carefully to him, because what he's saying to the audience out there, the importance of different revenue streams, and having that also, Charles could not do the things that he was able to do without those three components: without a healthy credit score, without staying in tax compliance, meaning that he filed his taxes every year, and maintaining good health. So, we are able to accomplish what we accomplish if we have those three components down. And today I am a tax preparer also. And one of the things that I share with my clients is that the importance of preparing or making sure that your tax preparer schedule a meeting with you, so you can go over with that tax preparer what are all of the incomes you have. So you may have a W-2. However, you have your other streams of income. Some people may call it your side hustle, but you may have several side hustles out there. It is very important that you share with your tax preparer the other income that you have as a result of your side hustle, and to make sure those incomes get reported on your Schedule C, because that is additional income that you can point to. Let's say the bank, if you're going for a second mortgage, the bank will want to know, well, we know you have your W-2 income, we want to see the side income. So you can show the bank you bring in another 30,000, 10,000, however, whatever amount that happens to be, you can show the bank the monies that is being generated from that side income. Over.
Marie was speaking of the three things, and she included the credit score. I have personally had that bad credit score. When you were a teenager and you're doing all those silly things and all that, fine. But don't underestimate that credit score, guy. That's a critical thing. And I taught my kids that, and they are in their 30s now, and they're realizing now a lot of their friends can't do the things they do. My daughter has a business, and we talked about ways she can. It's not, by the way, it's not how much money you make in life, it's how much you're able to keep. You can make a lot of money and then end up at the end of the year with much less. So anyway, she was getting at least in a car with a corporation, and it was no problem. But a lot of her friends were doing things like that, and they tried to get their car, and they couldn't get it because of the credit score. So that credit score is a big deal. The other thing I want to mention too is that I found out early on, and everything I've learned in my life has been from somebody else. So you don't have to be the smartest person in the neighborhood, the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You got to always be in a position so that you learn stuff. But anyway, I wanted to buy a Porsche back in 1973, a 911 Porsche, and I was working hard, and I said, I deserve that. And I was going to put, at the time it was $12,000, and I wanted to put $3,000 down to get the payment to where I wanted. And this older guy, and speaking of older, by the way, another strategy I have is that I always spend time with the oldest person in the neighborhood. That is always, even now, it's hard to get people older than I am now, but I still try to find someone because they can tell you things. And life is funny, is that a guy at 50 can tell a 30-year-old what he's going to experience at 50. It's not exactly the same, but it's going to be pretty close. So if you're 30 and you're speaking to somebody that's 60, you get 30 years of information that can save you a lot of things. But anyway, this car, he told me, he said, no, don't put $3,000 down in this car, lease it and take the $3,000 money and invest in a piece of property. That was the first piece of property that I got. I was able to write off a lot of the expenses on the car and all of that. So I say that to say, always find people that is doing or has been doing things that you would like to do. There's nothing better than a person helping another person. And again, the first person you ask might not say yes, but keep asking everybody. And that's what I would do. If I start out right now, I will find someone that's doing what I would like to do and ask them, so, sir, I see what you're doing here and I like this. Will you help me? That's one thing you can do. If you ask everybody every morning, will you help me? Will you help me? Somebody going to say yes. The thing you need to do is get that help and go back and demonstrate to them that they're giving you that help, allow you to help somebody else. And that's how it is. But anyway, I'll speak a little at the end about my personal objective and my personal thoughts. Over.
Yeah, I think this is really, really special. So two things here. relationships are key. I remember when somebody asked me one day, do you know Brother Joe Johnson? He's doing exactly what you say you are trying to do. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember me reaching out to him and feeling real nervous about it because he had been in the business for a long time. And he kindly met with me at, what was the name of the place? Panera Bread. I remember it, right? Because typically when somebody has the resume of somebody like Joe Johnson, you think you're going to you got to meet at a celebrity restaurant, right? He modestly met me very casually and listened to me and continued to do that. I think relationships are absolutely the currency of building wealth. And I don't think that it's a good idea to expect everything in one meeting, right? Relationships last over decades, really, and you never know how handy those relationships are going to come in unless you walk with that relationship. So I have a nice little roster of mentors, and I tend to contact them at least 3 times a year, because most busy people don't have time to meet with you every week. So I would say that if you have high value connections, you don't meet with them all the time, and don't feel disrespected if they can't necessarily make all of that time for you. But if they give you an assignment and you're serious about it, do it. And then let them know when you've completed that assignment. That will communicate to them how serious you are about their time and their advice. The other thing that I wanted to say as it relates to giving back, and I want to dovetail on something that Mr. Smith said. He said that his wealth is connected to giving back to people. I will unashamedly say that my goal, I'm a person of faith. I like to go to church. And so my goal is to tithe 6 figures. If anybody wants to support that effort by coming and doing some business with the Deutsche Group, I'll take it today. But I'm saying I want to be able to give back at least 6 figures to a number of organizations. There are a lot of our do-good organizations that have $50,000 a year that they have to do. Imagine how much work they could get done if you just satisfy that and allow them to be able to focus on the thing that they feel called to. So after that, I am on a mission. I'm getting closer and closer every year just to try to give back as much as I can, because I'm sure that I'm making room for more opportunity is the way that I like to think about it. But if you're not considering, you don't actually have enough room to receive all the stuff that you are built to attain. So in your plan, you actually have to plan to get rid of some of it. And why not allot that to something that the world needs? Why wouldn't you be the fiscal solution for someone versus trying to have someone address your fiscal concerns? It's just this mindset. So that giving back thing is so close to home to me. My wife often asks me, why you give away so much money? And I'm like, baby, I have to. I can't, because I have this big goal. I got to do it. And if it leaves me in a place of concern, which I don't think it will, because I'm around people who will advise me about how to kind of do that thing. But if it leaves me in a place where I need to figure out whether my management or my stewardship of those resources is good, I can look and say, did I help? Have I lived a life that has helped someone else to live a better life? And I think that if I can confidently answer yes, then that investment, that giving away, I think really validates the work. But he also then said, hey, the universe, the way that some people like to frame it is the universe conspires to bless you, when you have it in your heart to do good for other people. So you'd be surprised at how many people will push their gifts through you because they see what you're doing. And so that's in my heart. I think that's a huge part of the wealth mindset. And that also contributes to what Ms. Deary said, because she said, that you live off of one income. So you've got investments and you've got serving others. And all of that is wrapped into, I think, a happy, wealthy life. Over.
Listen, this has been wonderful. And I want to add a couple of things myself to this before we go on the last round. My father was a minister and taught me to tithe. And I thought when we were poor, and he was a poor minister, you know, but he ministered to the church, but he always gave. And the same thing, you said, what your wife said to you, Dr. Darcy, is that, why are you giving away so much? And I remember we used to ask our father that, why are you giving away so much? Why do you do this? You know, sometimes we still owe the grocery store down the street, and we still haven't paid for that car to be repaired. And he would always take out the Bible and explain the things that he was trying to do, even from the time when I got the whooping. You know, I always had to read the scripture before, train the child in the way it should go, and when they get old, they will not depart from it. All right. And so I'm doing this for you. All right. Train, because because I know you're going to veer away, but I know the things I'm going to put in you are going to come back to you. You know, it's that kind of thinking. But as we're talking about giving, though, it was 12 of us. I'm the youngest of 12, I would believe. But one of the things that he said was, look, I'm helping people today, because I have 12 children. They're all over the world, and I'll never be where you are. But I'm helping people today, some of that I don't even know, so that somebody is going to help each of you along the way. And I thought it was just, you know, I remember hearing him saying that and say, yeah, right. But guess what? I feel along this journey, there is that something that comes over the transom that's sometimes unexplainable. But it's there because you have had faith well, my father and mother had faith, but I've kind of carried along the tradition of tithing and helping others and so forth. And I think it's so important. It gives you a spirit of expectation. And if you have that, it's more likely to be successful for you. I'll say this, one of the things about crisis, and we're in the middle of it, but I often talk about the Chinese symbol for crisis, and Chinese symbols are two-sided. One is danger and the other is opportunity. So in every crisis, there is an equal to or bigger opportunity if we stop and look for it. But if we live in the danger, we won't see the opportunity. And so while all of the things that are going on now, there are greater opportunities. There are more things tearing apart. There are more opportunities created. And we even see there are more Blacks doing things that we didn't envision before, right? In the middle of, you know, from 400 years of systemic racism. And it's been here. I don't care what Mike Pence says, you know, about there's no such, it's a myth, you know. The reality is that there's opportunity. And we've always, if anyone has learned about capitalizing on in the crisis, it is African Americans. In spite of everything else, we somehow found a glimpse of an opportunity and we pursued it. And I like where we're going. And one of the last things I want to say is about this idea of starting with the end in mind, a vision and a purpose in your life. Start thinking about it. It's important. And I believe a vision is an end in mind. When I started my business, I envisioned what I wanted it to be. Everything from how the phone was going to be answered, everything of how people were going to view the business, small business with a large image. You know, I talked about those kinds of things and I wrote them down. And so that was really important. You know, But I also just want to reinforce something that I heard here about diversifying, if you will, not one place. As a business, my 33rd year now, I had, I would say, blessed success in consultancy. The key thing though, but I always had this vision of diversifying. What I didn't do, because of the income coming in from consultancy, I stayed in one area, I think longer than, in retrospect, than I should have. I should have had 5 different income streams, which I laid on paper but didn't do, as opposed to 1. And what happened is you learn the lesson that you learn. My corporation learned the lesson that individual learns. And so the idea is to envision, if you're working on one thing, there's tentacles to a lot of other things. So build on them, you know, learn from them. And then lastly, I'm going to say something about, you know, we talked about relationships, and I want to build this idea of continuous learning. You know, we need to learn till we die, because it's enough to learn out there. And I think that people talk about purpose now, and I want to just give a tidbit on purpose. I said too often people confuse goals with purpose. All right, that's what's your purpose. They give a goal, and so what I've learned from wisdom from elders, from the church, and other places as well. Our purpose is for somebody else. We were all put here to make a difference in somebody else's life. Our goals are for ourselves. Our purpose is for someone else. Something that we're put on this earth to provide service to or knowledge to help others. So when we say God gave us all a purpose, I believe that. And I believe that the purpose, though, is about others. The goals now are the things we need to do, or we feel we need to do, in order to be able to fulfill the purpose. So, so the goal may be to, you know, for Dr. Dorsey, to accumulate wealth of $2 million. All right, but that's the goal. The purpose is what's going to happen with that $2 million. And so that's the end in mind. It's this purpose. And then that will tell us the kind of goals we need in order to achieve it. So the end in mind is our vision, our purpose. And I think that's important to know. And that keeps our attitude fresh. It keeps us faithful. It keeps us, you know, with a life of expectancy. And we'll see the return all the time. You know, and so I want to say over to Marie, and this will be our last round.
Okay, thanks again. Thanks again to all the panelists. I don't know if Dr. Darcy or you, Joe, talked about opportunity, seeing an opportunity. And when we see an opportunity, how we can apply our skills and resources to take advantage of that opportunity. And I can say back in February, in March, April of 2020, I saw the opportunity with the Paycheck Protection Program. And I saw the need to help my community to secure that loan. And I started out on a journey to educate myself on everything that I needed to know about the PPP and about the EIDL loans that were out there, and to do whatever I can to make sure that the African American owned business owners had an opportunity to apply for and to get the money. And I can proudly say, at the end of the program, which was May 31st, we were able to secure thousands and thousands of loans for African American owned businesses. Because as African Americans, we have suffered more than any other community. We have lost more than 440,000 small businesses, and those businesses are not coming back. Granted, only 2% of African American owned businesses got PPP money. 2%. So which means that 98% of that money went to other groups. But I was able to see the opportunity, embrace it, and educate myself so I can educate others. And I'm able to do that as a result of the people, the relationships that I have built and others have built for me, enable me to have the confidence to do those things. And as a young engineer, Joe will tell you how determined I've always been to make changes, to create the change that we need. And again, that was done that was done through education and having the desire. And if you have the desire, you will find a way to get the education. And I encourage all the listeners out there, if you have the desire, then it is up to you to find a way. And as Joe said, there's always opportunities, especially in these times. In these times, we have seen, and this is only 2021, we have seen more multi-billionaires in this space more than ever before. And it will continue. So you, as a young person out there, look for the opportunities. Apply yourself. Seek other people that are doing similar things. And go get it, because the opportunity is there, and you have the energy, the youth, whatever you call it. Take that and run with it. Over.
Okay, I'm going to close my part out by giving you a few experiences that I've had. I think that if I was a young person and I had a chance to speak with James Smith, it would be a great opportunity, because I speak of what I've experienced, guys. There's not too many things in life, good, bad, indifferent, that I have not experienced. So let me quickly go through. A lot of our young people and a lot of people in general like to be entrepreneurs. Well, that's great. And I didn't know anything about that segment, but I knew that I had to get a job because I had a family, my mother and my father. My father died when I was 14, but my mother and my 6 sisters and brothers were dependent on me. So I had to get a job that was going to make sure that every 2 weeks or every week there was income. So be an entrepreneur or be whatever, but find out the job that's best suited for you. For me, it was getting a government job. That's why I started in the Postal Service, because in the Postal Service, not in any government job, you're not gonna get rich, but you get paid every 2 weeks. You live a good life if you get that paid on a regular basis. So that's what I did. So entrepreneurship is fine, but if you're in a position that you need to make sure that you have income on a regular basis, consider a government job, some job with some job security. The other thing I want to mention is T.D. Jakes said one time, he says, if someone inspires you, someone makes you feel good, someone does something great for you, tell them, recognize them regularly, recognize them often, and recognize them publicly. That's why you'll see me say, oh, Joe, I love you. Joe, that people, you can't assume that people know that you appreciate them. And speaking of Joe, my wife and I met Joe, and I just started my foundation, and I won't get into the numbers, but Joe is still to the day the largest contributor to my foundation. And it was not because he had, it was the relationship he had and the way he felt about me. The other thing I wanted to share is that blessings are things that make you say, well, where did that come from? How did that happen? And that's what I've experienced. There's so many things in my life. In fact, the 5 most important things in my life are blessings because they didn't happen because I was tall, dark, and handsome. There was something bigger and more profound that made that happen. So always be sensitive to that somebody or something bigger than you and I that can provide those blessings. Plan for the future. If you are a young person and you have kids, college eventually going to come up. Begin some type of college program so that by the time those kids are ready, that's no cost to you. The money's already been there. Plan for the future. Grandkids, plan for your grandkids' school. Set up some type of scholarship program. The other thing I want to say is that you'll hear people say, well, I tried to do this, I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try to do that. Don't ever use the word try. You either do it or you don't. If you say, Joe, try to get up, either you get up or you don't. Get the word try out of your vocabulary. Make it happen. If it can happen, if somebody else did it, you can do it too. The other thing I want to share with you is that it took me a long time in life to realize this, but good things happen to good people. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do excellent. But as long as the good Lord, whoever you believe in, knows where your intentions are, things good will happen, guys. It's sort of like that cat. You can take a cat and throw him on the floor. He'll always land on his feet. Think about that. Another point I want to mention is that my strategy in life was if I saw somebody that I wanted to get to know on a long-term basis, I had a 3-step process there. The first time I walk to him, say, hi, Mr. Johnson, I'm James Smith, whatever. Don't take up a lot of his time, but just say something and find something. You know, Mr. Johnson, I really like that idea that you had on such and such. I guarantee you that person's Joe is going to say, well, what was about that? He's going to give you a little more time. If you do that right, the second time you meet him, you say, hello, Mr. Johnson, James Smith, I met you at such a place. Now, if you do those 2 things right, the third time, Mr. Johnson will come up to you and say, hi, James, how you doing? Then you know you got it. Because it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Okay? There's no bad experiences in life. Everything that happens for a reason. And the bottom line is that we learn from things. And the last thing I want to share with you, I am a cancer survivor. And in life, you'll find out that no test, no testimony. If you have not been tested, you have no testimony. Life will test you guys. All you have to do is keep waking up. Whatever can happen in life, good, bad, and different, you're going to have those experiences. But it's not what happened to you, it's how you react to it. Get your piece of property, keep it for a while, take out the equity, buy another piece of property, keep going. And always give every day and be thankful every day you wake up, and give life the best that you have to offer. Good luck to you all. Over.
Yeah, I am humbled to have had an opportunity to share the space with these panelists. I'm humbled that I would even be invited into the conversation. I think that they have spoken a great deal, and I think that it's appropriate for me to just say thank you. I'm not sure how to communicate how meaningful these experiences are for me, but I appreciate it. And even as a panelist, I've been listening and taking notes to continue to improve and try to have an impact in this world in a way that's transformational, not so that people can necessarily remember my name, but they will know those who contributed to my life along the way. And so I have no idea who's ever going to watch this, but I'm a product of the investment of time from my elders, every single one of them, starting with my mother and my father, and the people who poured into them down to the people on this panel. And I respect and I honor that. I think that this is a posture that we should continually maintain. And I think that that will help remedy mindsets that lead us to poverty. And I think that this is a good starting place if you're going to walk the long journey of not just building wealth, but stewarding wealth into the hands and into the management of those who are coming behind you. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing each of you. I'd hope to connect with you. If you are on any social media site, you can find me at the Dr. Dorsey, THEDR Dorsey, and would love to share more. If you find it in your design or plan to pursue more information, I can be reached that way. Shouts out to you, Brother Johnson, and thank you for setting such a high bar for people like me to climb up to and hopefully go higher.
Listen, thank you so very much. To WT and the Central Missouri African-American population and others, we are honored to be a part of your Juneteenth celebration. And we hope that we added some value to that will stimulate some more thinking while you as you celebrate 2021. I really thank you, Marie Deary, for on a short notice bringing your knowledge to this. It was invaluable, and thank you, James Smith, for doing likewise. Again, it was invaluable. And Dr. Dorsey, I appreciate your jumping on, even though you weren't here earlier. In the short time you were here, you added to the mix. And that was very important. So, I mean, I thought of you all, and personally, I think it actually ended up being something even better and greater than I anticipated to be. It gives me thoughts about other things that may do in the future. If we can impart knowledge to Missouri, we can impart knowledge to West Virginia, or Mississippi, or Louisiana, and so forth. So this gives me some thoughts about that. Lastly, a big point to the audience. I learned that necessity is the mother of invention. So necessity is the mother of invention. Find a need and fill it. I mean, in this time of crisis, there are certain things that it puts us in certain situations. And what happens is that we need to understand what looks like a necessary situation is one where we need to think out of the box, think differently in order to, we're there for a purpose to get us to think out of the box to our future. And this idea of making sure you're creating dialogue with others. You know, it's a breakfast, it's a lunch, it's whatever it is, it's a webinar. You know, we have so many ways to take advantage of each other now. I remember reading the book Think and Grow Rich years ago. And there were a couple things in the Think and Grow Rich, and the Laws of Success. And I remember my older brother told me years ago, I was working late or something, and he was talking to me, and he said, "I'm gonna send you something," and he sent me the book, and like the 15th law of success of the 22 is the idea of if you work more than you're paid, you'll eventually be paid more than you work. If you work more than you're paid, you'll eventually be paid more than you work. And I thought it was, it was the benefit of having an elder brother, and dropping knowledge. And I also remember in there they talked about a mastermind, having a group of people that you talk to regularly, those relationships that will allow you to create the next Uber or the next Airbnb. People creating multi-billion-dollar corporations in like Airbnb, and not only in real estate, or creating multi-billion-dollar corporation with automobile and not owning an automobile. And so it's those kinds of things that come out of relationships and necessity and so forth and so on. So thanks again, WT, and God bless your efforts.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you all joining with us. Mr. Joe Johnson, Mrs. Marie Deary, Mr. James Smith, Mr. Bobby McDonald, and of course, Dr. Charles Dorsey. Thank you for dedicating your time. Time is expensive. And for you to share your time with us, it is invaluable. One of the things I jotted down is busy people are busy people. And so just because an individual are not able to give you the time when you want it, doesn't mean that they have no desire to give you the time. Keep asking. You are willing to dedicate your time to sharing. That is one thing that continues to came out of the conversation. Sharing is very important. Knowledge is one thing, but if you keep it to yourself, you are selfish and you will never be wealthy. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Nuggets of knowledge that I will never forget. And so we here at Juneteenth Jefferson City, Missouri, wish to thank you for sharing. And this information will be invaluable, not only to young folk, but some old folk with a few gray hairs like myself as well. We will send you the link once we get it edited, and we will send you that. But in the meantime, please visit our website, juneteenthjcmo.org, and we'll show you what we have planned for June the 19th. We're starting our event June the 14th through the 18th. We'll share a few videos and presentation throughout the week. And then this presentation will actually be released on June the 19th. So again, thank you very much. God bless you. Keep on doing what you're doing because you are blessing so many. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.